Well, still on lockdown. The banks are still closed, at least ours is. Just show you what we do to have fun around here that doesn't cost anything. Today we're going to go over how you design and build well, let's just do design today. We might do another video. Stitch and glue boat building. This is basically, it's like cutting out sheets of paper and gluing the edges together, and the shape of the paper makes the shape of the thing you're building. In this case, we use very thin plywood. One, is cheap, and two, it bends easy. And you're going to put fiberglass on both sides, so it's a composite. Let's take a look at a few possibles here. This is an ocean-going two-person, we call it sea kayak. The different colors panels are the parts to show you what it would look like. Let's see. It's built to shed water, and the bottom it's a V bottom, but it's a fairly shallow V bottom for going over coral and really shallow water. It's compartmentalized, though they're not really showing through these holes we have here. Anyway, this isn't just this. We're going to look at a couple examples, and then what it takes to put the thing together, what you have to do to make it. Anyway, this one is the sea kayak. It's also there's a thinner, shorter version, which is a lot closer to the water, which is a one person. This was big enough to put a motor in. So, and also it's wide for stability, but there's an option for outriggers. And the outriggers, out of laziness, they're the same ones for the local style fishing boat with outriggers. And let's turn this so you can get some idea what the shape of the parts is, and then we're going to go see where they are. Well, we're going to do a couple more hull designs first. We'll do that. This is sort of a proof of concept sheet. There's one up here. Well, yeah, we'll go to this one next. And now I've got it upside down. Okay. We call this outrigger fishing boat because that's what it is. These things can be scaled. Once you draw something in this kind of a program, you can scale it up or scale it down. We have a design length like 18 feet for this thing. But when you go to put the parts on the plywood, you want to use the entire sheet of plywood. So you say, okay, if I compromise this to be 3% smaller, then I use, like 2 sheets of plywood instead of 3. So the actual size is done when the parts are fit onto the plywood. This has got the 2 outriggers. The let's see, would you have a? Well, okay. This seat has got front and back on it. It's full of foam. There's a block of foam goes from this edge down to that bottom corner. One, it reinforces it for running into stuff, but it's foam for flotation. This seat's foam for flotation. This seat's foam for flotation, and this back triangle's foam for flotation. This one has got a V floor, and it's just the bottom of the boat. But if I was actually to build this, I'd have a slat floor in there, close to the bottom. The farther you get the weight down, the more stable it is. Like if somebody was standing or kneeling in the boat. If something is wide compared to well, any other dimension, height particularly, it's more stable. Can you imagine a block of wood, a foot square, ever flipping over? You could push one side down, but you don't never see a boat flip over the front. Hydroplanes flip over the back because the air gets underneath of them and blows them over. But as far as water stability, if this thing was as wide as those outriggers, it'd be impossible to turn it over. But a wider hull is more stable. Second thing is if your center of buoyancy, that's the boats float because they take the place of the water, the shape that is in the water. Whatever that water weighs is how much that shape will hold up. And any shape that's above that is just sticking out of the water. It's the top of the boat you see. So if we take the center of buoyancy, which is the center of gravity, centroid actually, of the water that's being displaced, you know, how high that is off the center or the bottom or any dimension you want to measure it from. And then the center of gravity, the actual physical weight of the boat. If the center of gravity is below the buoyancy, anything that upsets it just immediately returns it, back to upright. So it's real stable, but it's near impossible to build because there's more of the boat out of the water than in the water. They got around this on Spanish sailing galleons, which were sort of round-bottomed, worst design you can do. And they filled the bottom of it full of rocks. They just, rocks big enough that they add up weight really quick, but that a human being could pick up and throw overboard. The reason they needed them because they had a lot of cannons above the water line. Can't shoot a cannon under the water line. So they have, rocks in the bottom. The reason the round bottom is not a real good idea, especially when you have sails up there trying to push it and turn it over. Now they didn't sail very far off the wind line. They mostly sail downwind. But if you have that big square block, the part of when you push down one edge of it trying to tilt it, that takes up more water on that side, so it's more buoyant. Your center of buoyancy is moved in the right direction from the center of gravity to bring it back to level. The other side of the block, because the boat weighs the same, it comes up, and there's less water displaced, and that also is trying to bring it back to dead level. So if you have a round thing like a pipe or a cylinder or a log, no matter what you do, the buoyancy point doesn't change when it rotates. So it'll roll upside down or lay on its side, or the top or the bottom, doesn't make any difference. So at one extreme, a round cylinder is totally unstable. And the other extreme, something flat, wide, not too terrible long, it's extremely stable. So we're gonna try to compromise and sound like somebody's at the door. We're going to try to compromise and make a shape that does what it has to do and doesn't look too ugly. This fishing boat here, it's not terrible ugly. It's a takeoff on the Filipino fishing boats that they use all around here. It's kind of pointy on both ends. There's another one that we did just for fun. We didn't build any of these yet. We're going to pick one to build. The back here is squared off for an outboard motor, or to put a shaft out of for like a long-tail boat, so we can put a propeller on the thing. But it's not. It's intended to be paddled. That's why it's only like 18 or 19 feet long. When you get to past 22 feet, they're just too long to paddle and too hard to keep the directional control. Excuse me, my wife is here. Oh, she stopped me to tell me somebody set our farm on fire again. Happens twice a year. Nothing I can do about it. You can tell me, it's nice to know, but under lockdown, I can't go out there and try to help, slow it down or whatever. Okay, we've looked at the fishing boat and a bunch of flotations on and the general shape. Get some idea what the panels look like. And let's go to a different hull design.